All right. In my period of time here, I'd like to ask this item to be agendized the next week and the week thereafter. I think from my vantage point, I ran for mayor in the city of Sacramento because I wanted to make a difference. I love this city, and I think we have to do a better job of meeting the needs of our constituents. And I do find it an honor and a privilege to serve up here with my council member colleagues, even though that we have differences on many occasions. We are all doing it because we want to serve the public that elected us, and I think that's an honor. It's unfortunate that the issue of this charter change to an executive mayor form of government has become a point of contention and divisiveness to date, and I assume full responsibility for that. I think I could have done a better job of seeking input from people. My intention was to choose one avenue that was out there and available, but in hindsight, more people were not engaged, and going forward, I want to do a better job of making sure we get input from public, from everyone that we can imagine, and especially my colleagues here. So over the last 8-9 months, I listened to what was said from the Charter Review Commission, from council members, from the public, from a host of people in terms of the so-called Strong Mayor Initiative. And I think there's something that would be interesting for us to consider to put on the ballot in June if council members were so inclined and feel that it makes the best interest and sense to them. So this reform package is a little bit broader than it was before. I'm going to list what the 5 components are. The charter reform package I'd like to bring forward next week is to modify the executive mayor. Number 2, independent budget analysts. Number 3, ethics committee. Number 4, term limits. And number 5, voter reapproval. And I'll talk briefly on each of those. A modified executive mayor, where the core components would be the mayor would be able to propose the budget, hire and fire, and veto, and the veto would be overridden at any point in time by council as long as they have the necessary amount of votes. In terms of hiring and firing, the mayor would have a limited scope in terms of members he would be able to hire and fire. You're talking assistant city managers, department heads, etc. We're talking probably 20 to 30 folks. Things that were in the original proposal that I think should be removed after listening and hearing quite frequently, council appointments from charter officers. I think that should be removed. The charter officer piece should be removed and should go back to council with the exception of the city manager. I think this initiative can also much better clarify the residual powers. There was a lot of concern on whether the mayor in that proposal would be able to hire and fire 4,000 people or 800. That was never the intent. So I think city attorney brought this point up earlier. I think we can do a much better job with clarification in terms of residual powers, and then clarification in terms of District 9. So that's the core of the executive mayor kind of modified proposal I'd like to bring forward. In terms of the independent budget analysts, there are 2 options really. We as council can adopt an ordinance as is, or we can put it on the ballot. I think we as council should adopt the ordinance as is, and I don't think we should come up with a watered down version that really doesn't do its part. I think that was proposed last week. Council is going to bring that, city staff is going to bring that back next week. I do not think that's the ideal way to go. In terms of ethics committee, I think we all know that's a very important one, especially in light of all the challenges that we're having here in City Hall. I think the public is facing a situation where they're distrusting of all of us, and I think an ethics committee can create an environment where we have oversight, training, and the investigative components that go along with that. Term limits, number 4, I'm proposing term limits for both mayor and council. I think that's a perfect check and balance, and one that would be very well received by the public. And the last one would be the voter reapproval, also known as a sunset, that you would try the executive mayor form of government for a period of time, and then voters would get a chance to evaluate and assess it, and if they like it, they can reapprove it. If they don't, they can discontinue it or modify it accordingly. I think at the end of the day, this is very collaborative. We've heard from a lot of people. I think we have a tremendous opportunity to do something as council. I don't think most people imagine that it can be done. And I think if we're called to a higher being of not letting our differences and self-interests and other interests get in the way, I think truly you've heard from people speaking today on this issue during the comment section, and it's very clear a lot of people do believe that the form of government we have is not serving their needs, and I think we have an opportunity to do that accordingly. So thank you for that, and we are going to, as Councilmember Sheedy said, we're going to close in memory of Officer Bill